Hi. I want to talk about sovereign help today. This is my daughter, Kinsey. Kinsey passed away 4 months ago of an accidental drug overdose. It's been very difficult for my family. She was a blessing to our life. At 8 years old, Kinsey was first diagnosed with anxiety disorder. It's hard to swallow as a mom. At 12 years old, she was diagnosed with ADHD. The anxiety had never left. We had tried a few medications. They didn't work. When they diagnosed her with ADHD, they put her on medicine to help with that. That never worked. At 12 years old, Kinsey was finally diagnosed with the right diagnosis, and that was adolescent bipolar disorder. That was even harder to swallow. So it was always a struggle for Kinsey. We tried everything. She's been in active therapy since she was 8 years old. She's tried different doctors, all kinds of medications, therapists. You name it, we've tried it. Kinsey found marijuana at an early age, and she started smoking. And for the first time in a very long time, I saw my daughter level out on her own. I'm not going to tell you that I agree with marijuana for recreational use, but for medicinal use, I myself have seen how it works and how it can work. And I live in a state where that is illegal, so it was still always an issue for me. It wasn't something that I condoned, but I definitely saw that it kept my child level better than any medicine any doctor had ever given her. For a long time, it stayed at that, and it was just the marijuana. But at 15 years old, Kinsey started dating a boy whose family was known to have been using heroin. Some pretty serious issues had happened in that family, and I was concerned, but I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I trusted that my daughter wouldn't do that. I was wrong. She tried heroin for the first time when she was 15 years old with her boyfriend. From the time Kinsey was 15 until she was 19, she dabbled with it on and off. I did see there were periods of time that she looked unhealthy. Her bipolar got even more erratic. It was hard to be around Kinsey a lot of times, And I knew the good she had inside of her. But it was difficult because with a chemical imbalance of that type, and then you add something else to that, it's like pouring fuel on a fire. She had moved back and forth from my home to her dad's periodically, usually in short stints. The last time she was there, she called me. She had an episode there with her dad. She wanted to come home. The stipulation that I gave her was that if she came back into my home, which is always her home as well, but she had to go to rehab. So I took her to Bradford. Bradford kind of has, cornered the market here in the state of Alabama. So we went there. She had an intake and an interview, and they refused my daughter. They refused my daughter on the basis that she had bipolar, BPD, anxiety disorder, and a drug addiction, and that they were not capable of handling such dual diagnoses. So they referred us to Sovereign Help. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. I called Sovereign Help. The first question that I asked was, is this going to be covered? They made it sound like it was wonderful, like it was this luxurious place. They have swimming pools and hot tubs. They do yoga. They work on the spiritual and the physical. I really had felt like after all my prayers that this was my answer. This was my last hope for my child. So we bought her a plane ticket with them telling us that they would pay for her airfare home. That was hard. That was hard to put my firstborn child on an airplane and send her all the way to California. But I trusted these people. I trusted everything that they told me, and I was lied to. My daughter got to this facility and she was treated horribly. Horribly. She was only allowed to talk to me once a week, and that was on a speakerphone with a counselor in the room. Each time I spoke with her, she was unhappy. She wanted to leave. She said that they were mean. They didn't have the dietitian they were supposed to have making the meals in these houses. She said that they hardly had any food, and what food they had wasn't worth eating. All the staff were having relations with the patients, sexual relations. Kinsey was just in shock. I kept thinking she was overreacting. Let's kind of wait it out a little bit and see how this goes. Well, it didn't go well. There were false accusations made against my daughter by other people in the facility that were there for treatment as well. She got moved to another house. The first night at that house, a staff member choked my daughter. My daughter called me and said that she would not stay another night in this facility. She signed herself out. They released her to the streets of California. Did not even let me know. I had to figure out how to get my daughter home from California back to Alabama. They stole all of her belongings. She wasn't given anything besides her cell phone and a bag full of medication. Medication, let's talk about that for a minute. They're very good at saying they're going to get your child or your loved one off of a drug, but then all they do is turn around and get them on numerous other drugs. My daughter came home from this facility more intoxicated than she'd ever been in her life. She looked like a zombie. The amount of medications they gave her was a ridiculous amount of medications. They stole from my daughter, they lied to us, and I'm now being billed, even though we had Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, for over $185,000 in charges that my insurance refuses to pay because they're fraudulent. We are involved in a case with the FBI right now, and my daughter has been listed as a crime victim. Please don't send your loved one to Sovereign